Welcome back to our weekly question and answer series. We'll get to some of our questions which we got this week. Number one, I used to make the Brocha Boyer Moire Weish by Havdalah before I went to seminary. When I came to seminary, they told me that our minig is not to make this bracha. Is it so? And what is the minig Chabad? The answer is like this. The Magen Avraham writes that according to there's a big machloikus if women are mechiyef with Havdalah or not. The Magen Avraham writes that even if noshim are not mechiyef to make Havdalah, they are permitted to make a bracha on besumim and on the kois. And he doesn't mention at all what is about Berachas Moire Weish, if they make the bracha or not. The Mishnah Berurah writes that the reason why they could make the bracha on a kois and besumim is because it's Berachas Hanam. But regarding Berachas Haner, he writes that this is a Brucha Shazman Geruma. And he finishes up that they are not machiyef to make the bracha. That means like this. The other bruchas is a Berachas Hanem, there's no problem they should make. The Berachas Haner, it is a Brucha Shazman Geruma which women are potter, they don't need to make the bracha. So it comes out like that if they want to make a bracha, they could make the bracha. They're not machiyef. But since we, Ashkenazim, we make a bracha on Berachas, which is Azman Geruma, so therefore they could make the bracha, but they're not machiyef. In the Maise, the minig of most women are today, they do make the bracha on Berachas Haner. The Tzois HaShulchan has a whole shmiz in his and his conclusion is like this. You could do whatever you want. You are permitted to make the bracha. You don't have to, but you could make the bracha. And he writes over there down afterwards in the footnote that, but I never saw that women should basically look at their nails when it comes to make Berachas Haner. So the conclusion from the Tzois HaShulchan is they could make the bracha, and the Yagid Moshe writes that the minig of most noshim today's day is to make the bracha. But he adds the Tzois HaShulchan that looking on the nail, this I never saw that women should do, and he gives a reason too, because since the whole thing that you look at the nail has to do because Motzi Shabbos, Udem Rishon created the fire. He took two stones and it took fire out of that because it became dark and because it has to do with the Chet Eitzadas. So therefore, women do not look at their nails. But that's only because he didn't see people doing that. So let's sum it up. Minig Chabad, we don't see any minig Chabad at all that you should make or you should not make. We don't see that. It is only that the Tzois HaShulchan writes that they're not machif to make it, they make the bracha, but they could make the bracha. And regarding a ner, he says a reason only because he never saw people should doing it. Lamaisa, most of the people today's day do make a bracha ala ner, and they look at their nail. So if you had the minig to do that before you went to seminary, there's no reason you should stop that minig, and there's no reason that in the seminary they should teach that minig Chabad is not to do that, since I looked high and low and I didn't find any hint of that minig Chabad is not to say Berachas Moire Aish and not to look at the nail. Question. You spoke a couple of weeks ago regarding coloring, dyeing red salmon fish. if the throat is dyed red with a non-kosher dye, is it still kosher? The answer is yes, it's still kosher, because we have halacha that a cow which was basically fed only non-kosher food or only chomotz in Pesach, then we have a problem of purish and esmatma beduvarus. That means an animal which was fed only non-kosher food, so basically he was living only on non-kosher food, we have some problem. But if there is servus koyim, that means if he eats kosher and non-kosher food, then we don't have a problem. Since it's not only the non-kosher food that gives him nutrition, it is also the kosher food, so therefore there's not a problem. Now when it comes to this fish, salmon fish, they eat all kind of fish and they eat all kind of foods. It is only, they also give them some kind of dye, which some kind of food that makes them color red. It should be more reddish. So even though it might be a non-kosher food, but since they eat also kosher food, we have no problem of eating salmon which was fed non-kosher fish or dye. Anyways, all the fish what we eat, which basically eats other fish which might not be kosher, and it's still kosher, because the geder is ze v'ze goyrim is mutter. That means whenever a thing gets nutrition or gets fed by two kinds of food, a kosher and non-kosher, it is still kosher to consume. Question: is there a problem pi halacha to listen to a phone call without knowledge of one of the parties speaking? Yes. We mentioned a couple of weeks ago regarding reading a letter of somebody else. And there's a chayrim d'Rabbeinu Gershon that you're not permitted to read somebody else's letter if you don't have permission. And we gave over there a couple of reasons. One reason was because that you shouldn't go listening in from one person to the other person if they don't know. One reason which the Rishonim say is because shloim das. That means there's a halacha that if somebody borrows something from somebody else without his knowledge, he's a gazlan. So not borrowing knowledge or looking to hear other person's information, it's also a gazlan. And that's also by a non-Jew. There's a mitzvah of a haftarach kamoichu. Nobody wants that somebody else should listen in to your private phone conversations. Or because of hezek. So because of all of the reasons, there's the iser. It's not permitted to read somebody else's letters. And the same iser will also go to listen to somebody else's phone conversation, or anything which is personal, somebody else reading somebody else's diary, etc. So again, there's no heter to listen in to somebody else's conversation on the phone, even if it's one of your family members. And it might be the same will go also to a parents listening in on a grown-up child's phone conversation with somebody else. It's not permitted to listen. There is sometimes when you feel it's latia eilas, then you have to look in the halacha when you are permitted. And I don't want to go into it now. There's a lot of details in it. Overall, it's also to listen to a conversation which somebody else holds and you didn't have any permission to add. Question: I gave a ride to a person in my car. I have no idea who he is. He left an umbrella in my car. What are my obligations? The halacha is, if somebody loses something and has no siman, and the person gives up on it, that means since he doesn't have a siman, he feels he's not going to get it back anymore, so automatically he's mayayish himself, he gives up on that thing. So after he was mayayish on it, you could take it then and it belongs to you. If it has a siman, you have to make an announcement and keep it till you give it back for that person. But if it doesn't have a siman, first he has to give up, then you could take it. Whenever somebody puts something in a way that it's not, so to speak, he didn't lose it there. That means somebody comes in a shul and he leaves an umbrella there, and it goes a while and he forgets about it. So over there, that means it comes into your possession before you have Yish. That means first it came into your possession, and then it came the Yish. So that's not an easy thing that basically you should be able to take it. So therefore, all the shuls put a note on their door or on the board that anyone who comes into the shul should have in mind and knows that after 30 days, if you leave something in the shul takes it, it becomes theirs. So therefore, if you put such a note, writes Harav Oberlander, that should be fine, that after 30 days, the shul could take it and throw it out or give it for somebody else or keep it for themselves. But when it comes to a private person in his car, for instance, which he didn't make such an announcement. So when somebody comes into his car and he leaves it there, so it's in your car, that means it goes into your possession before that guy has Yish. Because he will only realize that he forgot his umbrella or later or by the next rain. So basically, it is problematic. So it's not, you cannot keep it. So there's a whole discussion in the poskim what to do in such a case. And the conclusion to that is that since it doesn't have a simon, because if it has a simon, then you're stuck. You have to make an announcement. But since it doesn't have a simon, is the first of all, a person should have in mind and make a Kabbalah that his car, he doesn't want that his house or his car should be koina that chayfet. That means, if somebody comes to my house and leaves an umbrella, he comes for a shir, he comes for a fabreng, and if he leaves an umbrella, my house should not be koined. So then, after that guy gives up, it's yish, then I will be able to take it, I will be able to coin it. So now it's shin rishis after yish. But if somebody did not do that, so basically he has now an umbrella which somebody else might give up, but it came into his possession before it was yish. So if it's before his yish, he's not koine, and then he's stuck with it. So the achlotas haposkim is that he should keep it for 12 months. Don't do anything about it. Afterwards, he should make an assumption, evaluation, how much this umbrella costs, and then he should write down somewhere that I found that day an umbrella which costs, let's say, $5.79. And if somebody else comes and asks you that I remember I lost my umbrella in your car, you have to give back the amount how much it is. Some poskim say you should give back the amount how much it is worth today when he comes asks for it. Other poskim say no, you could write down how much it was worth then and you give it back. But that you could do only after 12 months. So then after 12 months you could sell it or keep it for yourself. You write down how much it was, and if somebody is going to ask you, you're going to have to pay him back the amount of the umbrella. And if he doesn't ask you, so he doesn't ask you. But if you have in mind that I don't want to be koina, my car shouldn't be koina, or my house shouldn't be koina till after that guy gives up, till after Yish, so then it's Yish, and afterwards it's Shina Rishis, then you can take it for yourself since it doesn't have any simanim, and you don't have to give back no money to anyone who comes asking for that umbrella. Question. I made 2 doughs, each consisting of 5 pounds of flour. Can I honor my daughter with taking challah of the second batch? Or is the second bracha a bracha she'ein tzricha? The answer to this question is, you could take challah on one batch and give for your daughter to make a bracha and to take challah on the second batch, and it's not a bracha she'ein tzricha. The Alter Rebbe writes in Hilchas Pesach, Siman Tufni Zayin Sif Dalet, clearly that that's acceptable, and even the bakeries, if you make a couple of doughs, every dough could make, other person can make the bracha, and the minig is to be mechabed other people who are making the bracha, and it's not considered a bracha she'ein tzricha. The same way you find also Reb Shlomo Klieger which is brought down in Darkei Tshuva, Simach of Ches. We see when it comes Erev Yom Kippur, we make kaparas, and then Be'etzem, the whole mitzvah of Kisei Adam belongs to the Shoichet. But if the Shoichet decides he wants to give away the bracha for somebody else, the mitzvah for somebody else, he could make a bracha and cover up the blood as required by the Torah to cover up blood of a oif, of a chicken. So we see the Shoichet gives for a lot of people, they should make the bracha and cover Kisei Adam. Although if he makes it, he doesn't make a bracha more than once. He makes one bracha and it covers everything. Even though it's one bracha and one mitzvah, he can still be mechabat other people. They should make the mitzvah and make a bracha. And the same thing goes also. We see people buy new houses. They want to be mechabat their family members, or a rav should put on a mezuzah, and everybody makes a bracha on a separate door which he puts on. So we see that although when a person makes the mitzvah all for himself, he only makes one bracha for both those, or both Kisei Adam or both mezuzahs. But if he is mechabat somebody else, all of them could make a bracha, and it's not a bracha shein tzaricha. Question: May the Shlich Tzibur answer umain an birches kahanim yontif? Very nice question. The Mishnah writes in Masechtas Bruchas, a person which is a Shlich Tzibur should not answer umain an birches kahanim mitnei hatiroif, which it means that the Shlich Tzibur, if he's going to answer umain, he's going to get mixed up, mevulbul, and he won't be able to go back to his place where he's ready, where he needs to say, let's say, Sim Sholem. So he shouldn't answer umain on the three brachas of Berches Kahanim, Yevrechichu, Yuar. He shouldn't answer umain. And this is brought down to Shulchan Aruch. But the Shulchan Aruch also writes and finishes, V'miftech ba'atzma sheyachzer letfilusi b'loiter. If somebody is for sure on himself that he has no problem to answer umain and go back to his davening and there won't be any mix up, he could make a bracha. And other poskim say, no, you shouldn't make a bracha. But the Alter Rebbe, the Shulchan Aruch, brings it down and he writes, Ve'ikir kesvuri rishoyna. That means we are paskening the ikir, the main psak is like the first shitta, that if a person knows for sure that he can answer umain and nothing will happen, he will get back to where he was by the davening and he won't get mixed up in the davening, he could answer umain. And he adds on the Alter Rebbe, he befrat today's day that we are all davening from a siddur, that basically people are looking into the siddur so they won't get mixed up, and after Berches Kahanim they will say, we're able to say Sim Sholem without any problems, then you could say umain on the Berches Kahanim. So the answer to your question is yes, the Shlich Tzibur can answer umain on the three brachas of the Kahanim when they say Berches Kahanim. Now, you didn't mention the other thing, but I'll mention it. What is up if he can answer umain on the bracha which the Kahanim say before Berches Kahanim? Before the Dichenen, the Kahanim say a special bracha shekidishuni b'kedishusa shel haran. And what is the din if he could answer also on this bracha? And the answer is that the Mishnah Berurah brings down that yesh machmirim shim hefsek, and that's the das of Eli Rabba derech Chaim. But the Terezuah holds there is no problem, it's no hefsek. And this is how the Alter Rebbe paskens in Sif Lamed Aleph. He writes that the umain, which to say umain on the bracha which the Kahanim say on Berches Kahanim, it is not a hefsek because it is tzoyrech hatfila. It's part of davening. They have to make the bracha before Berches Kahanim, and that's part of Chazuras Hashatz. So therefore, even the bracha which the Kahanim say before Berches Kahanim, you could answer umain and there's no problem. Okay, we'll stop here and join us Mirza Hashem next week for the next week's question and answer. And please send in your questions to inbox@anash.com. Good night and have a wonderful week.